Welcome to the Borderline Man. Are there any differences between men and females struggling with borderline personality disorder? Yeah, there is. Firstly, I just read that there are like 3 times as many diagnosed females as there are men with borderline. But, and here's the scary part of this, men are probably 3 times as much underdiagnosed as well, because society screwed up with everything regarding men and mental health. Basically, it is, of course, the simple fact that men are, as usual, really bad at everything related to mental health. We, according to this science I just read, we don't seek out the relevant help. We tend to self-medicate instead with drugs and risky behavior and stuff like that. So men with borderline are more prone to end up in the emergency room because of broken legs from falling from things and alcoholic conditions and stuff like that. And we are also very much connected into, well, domestic abuse and things like that, because men don't vent their problems. Men bite their tongues and silently suffer until they snap. That's the 2 modes of a mentally unstable borderline man. We silently suffer, or we snap. Females are statistically better at venting, and this is a societal thing for sure, more than it has to do with anything biological. Men don't have this safety net with friends to talk about these things. Men don't have the acceptance of society to be emotional. Men are expected to toughen it out, to be the provider, the pillar of the family, the foundation on which everything is. And this is the role model that young men see, or they see the other role model, which is this aggressive young man, this gangster, this thug. And between all of this, they are also influenced by the, well, white trash philosophers like Andrew Tate, who spews out simplistic, moronic advice to young men about how things are. Very charismatic and alluring advice that seems like appealing for a young man looking for identity and purpose, but also very destructive, because it is always connected to this pseudo version of stoicism, about how to act, how to not show emotions, and, well, except when you have to make a stand for something really important, then you can be a warrior, and so on. This warrior philosopher shit, which I don't at all like. No real man should like this, because it is in all kinds of ways very dangerous. It is a very dangerous philosopher for society. It is a dangerous philosophy for the individual and for anyone surrounding this person, because anyone who lives by this ideal, the pseudo-stoicism ideal of these young influencers that infest the internet today, well, they are walking bombs. They are the ones who will snap, because humans, men and female alike, needs to vent things. We need to talk about things when we feel bad. And men don't. Men, well, at least not in a way that is real and relevant. There are these ridiculous, let's meet in the forest and scream primarily at a piece of meat or something like that, that kind of shit. But if we look at it more intellectually, men are not that different from females. We are just brought up in a way that we are suppressing every aspect of communicating emotions in a normal adult way. And this is a huge problem for borderline men especially, because not only is this difficult for any man, if you're a young man also struggling from borderline, well, I guess you already know how difficult it is to regulate emotions, how emotions take control and makes you an idiot. And imagine also having to deal with the expectations of society. I mean, you can tell yourself you're not doing that, but we are all influenced. I am influenced, and I think I'm rather progressive on these things. I'm brought up in a very progressive and secular society, far from any patriarchal, moronic ideas that are in the end very destructive for men, especially men with borderline, who are expected to handle all these things that are difficult for any man. And I am also aware that I am probably very much influenced by my upbringing. I live in a society that is not very expressive in emotions. The Scandinavian countries are famous for being reserved and chill and introverted and so on, and we frown upon people who gesture and express themselves passionately about things. It's just the way it is. Those behaviors are regarded as ridiculous here. Not so much of patriarchal reasons, but societal. So this is not only to do with, it's an overused word, but I'm going to use it anyway, toxic masculinity. It's also a product of societies that idealize introversion. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are benefits of being a quiet and reserved society, but emotional regulation is not one of those things. No. So, the difference between men and women, there is no real big difference. It's just an expectation that has influenced things greatly. It is the general difference between men and women that is shown here at its worst. That's one way, at least, we can put it. Men being inept with emotional regulation and emotional expression. Men not getting help, not from anyone. Because the only one who reach out for them are well-meaning people, but well-meaning people that are often regarded as weak by the man's peers, by the bros surrounding this dude. You know what I mean. So he becomes reluctant in seeking help. He'd rather sit at home, drink his whiskey, and just become a walking bomb that will explode in domestic abuse and stuff like that, or anything other really bad, detrimental thing. It is a real problem. Men struggle with identity all the time, and that's the niche that these gurus, these rapists like Andrew Tate, exploit. And they become the role models for emotionally unstable young men who wants to belong, who wants to feel strong and in control of their issues. And I get it. I want to be in control of my emotional problems. But dear God, it's not the people like him who will help you in this. Because that is just a simplistic man who wants to idealize the stoic warrior. A person that doesn't exist, to be fair. Anyone who says that this stoic warrior is a real thing is an idiot, basically. Every person out there has emotions that they need to regulate and they need to express. And not doing so will, sooner or later, not only to borderline personality disorder people and other people suffering from emotional conditions, but every man will suffer if they cannot express themselves. So, if you have male friends out there that are prone to be risk takers, that are alcoholics, that are very silent and struggle with using big boy words, keep an eye on them. A well-meaning eye, a helpful eye. Give them support. Try to talk to them, especially if you are female. I've noticed that females are better in making men open up, but even if you're a man, because there are men out there that wants to speak about things, but they struggle. I struggle with it. I feel very uncomfortable talking about emotions with other men. I have a lot easier to doing so with female friends, and I know and I realize now that it's probably a reason I have a lot of female friends. It is obvious to me, even as I say it now, that I've always had the need to talk about emotional things, and it is difficult to do with men, but it is easy to do with females because they are better at it. You are females, you are a lot better at it. So that makes sense to me now as I'm speaking it, actually. I always wondered why I was prone to have a lot of female friends. Part of me probably mistook it for me being very charming, a ladies' man. But no, it was probably more for the simple fact that I was feeling more comfortable in their company than I was with men. I have a lot of male friends also. It's not that. Actually, most of my friends are male. But there's been instances where females have been dominant as my main friends. Well, anyways, I'm going to come back to this topic a lot more in the future, probably, because it's an important topic. And if I can reach a young man, maybe looking for someone to talk to relate to about these things, that's good for me. If you hear me, it means I've helped someone. And yeah, don't listen to the likes of Andrew Tate and so on, because they are, even if you look at them as some well-meaning person that have some points, of course they do. Every hobby philosopher and verbally gifted person who speaks about these things make good points. They do. It's just that they simplify the important caveats of it. And you can't do that. You can't take some things out of context, which they do. So, that was this video. And have a good one, folks. This is the Borderline Man signing off.